Well then, I guess that part worked out, Tom thought to himself, as he stared at the Inquisitor, who was still sitting comfortably in Apuma's big chair.
You want to build a big workshop? At our keep?
Apuma had to let out, clearly quite taken aback. To be honest, Tom had sort of been expecting something like that to come to fruition. He'd just been wondering how exactly. A factory, Jelena clarified politely. Paulin made it quite clear he wouldn't be leaving. And I don't want him in one of the big cities anyway. Here we'll have to do. Even if I would prefer an inquisitorial stronghold loyal to me. I guess we can skip that argument then, Tom shrugged, pulling a forced smile. Quite, Jelena replied, not sounding that happy with it. My little talk confirmed my suspicions that this place is insufficient for the task ahead. More buildings are to be constructed, and more personnel I can find flowing in. I've had to pull a lot of favors to be the only Inquisitor here today. Arranging people I can trust will take time, Jelena said calmly, with what Tom at least believed to be a fake smile plastered on her face. I see. I believe we got a quick rundown from the investigator last time. Not everyone wants me meddling, do they? Tom asked. No, though luckily the Inquisition is rather busy at the moment with the war going on. We have recovered and narrowed those accursed blades, and we have reason to believe more are out there. So as long as I can manage to play down the effects of what's going on here, I do believe I can keep unwanted attention away from your island.
Actually, speaking of that, Butchuk added.
The Inquisitor turned to look at him, the smile gone from her face.
The attack that we suffered.
Yes?
We found out who organized it, he let out,
seeming to bind up and trying to clear his throat. Serena Kosovo, an aspiring businesswoman, wants to run the engineering guild, Tom added, with Chuck looking more than a little thankful. I see, Jelena replied, not looking pleased. I believe it will be possible to deal with that problem.
Thank you, Inquisitor, Butchuk said with a bow. She crippled my mother. Revenge will be a great boon for us.
I see. And I take it I need to keep the church from interfering here as well, she continued, glancing at Jordan.
That would be for the best, the Major replied with a nod.
And here I thought you would be the ones helping me, she let out, with a very slight shake of the head. Tom guessed that was the closest you were getting to a joke from this woman. About that, Tom interjected. What exactly do you have in mind? I believe Paulin put it best. He can't make equipment he does not have the equipment to make. You want me to set up a machine factory? If that is what you call it, then yes. Well, it beats building weapons, Tom admitted to himself. In fact, he was struggling to find a catch with that right now. Aside from the fact it would mean the Inquisition had quite the say in what was made. It's going to turn into a weapons factory, isn't it? God damn it.
And how do you plan on defending that? Butchuk asked,
Tom making out the hint of hopefulness in his voice.
And I'm sure my daughter Dakota would ask how you would feed so many people too,
Apuma added in his best formal tone. We expect to have free keeps in this island once spring comes. For now you will receive more supplies for the new year from wherever I can source them. I expect the construction of a warehouse to commence shortly. Perhaps more of those bunkers Paulin told me of would also be in order. Once the new year comes, the proper construction will commence. I'm hoping the war will have won me enough support by then to allow me to send a more substantial force of inquisitorial personnel here.
Oh my gods,
Apuma let out, looking a little weak in the knees, Tom helping him to sit down in one of the remaining chairs.
Thank you, Tom.
No worries. He stood back up, looking to Jelena. What kind of personnel? Soldiers, workers, paper pushers, artificers, priests of technology. Whatever will be needed. Wait, did you say tech priest? Tom blurted out. I guess the abbreviation works. Why? Oh, nothing, Tom tried, as he looked at the empty expression of the Inquisitor, fairly certain he wasn't fooling her about anything. That's my title. Well, that's an artificer. I can both create and sanctify holy technology, Edita let out with a smile. I'll do my best to help you understand what we know, translate, and make sure you don't commit any grievous errors. She will also oversee possible dangerous technologies and items of religious significance, Jelena added in a slightly pointed tone. Yes, ma'am. Don't you worry. No people are ending up in jars on my watch. Tom couldn't help but feel Edita and the Inquisitor weren't quite on the same wavelength, which did lend the question of why Edita had been picked for this, as he just stared at the artificer. Do pardon her behaviour, I believe this is her first time outside. You mean, like, literally? Tom questioned skeptically, looking at the excited-looking woman. What does she mean, people in jars? I've seen the sun before, Edita protested, before shutting up. Jelena cleared her throat. No, as in outside the holdings of the Inquisition. She has been briefed on what you are allowed to know, and I believe you will have plenty of time to discuss. Yes, I will learn everything. Jelena sighed ever so slightly before regaining her composure. Very well. I want to see the sigil in person. Tom, if you wouldn't mind showing Edita her workspace, she has quite a lot of unpacking to do. After that, I believe we have some more vaults to inspect. Saf could see Clara busy napping, though she seemed to be stirring now as their small formation circled above, Fengi and Essie standing in front of Yrrol and looking up at them. So this is the lucky individual, Jelena said, somehow managing to still sound dignified over the roar of the wind, as Baron circled above the camp looking down. From my impression, I believe she would disagree, although we are hoping to change that, Saf replied, shouting over the wind. How so? Fengi is insistent on proving we are nice people. Yrrol hates keep dwellers. She has some history. I see. Jelena chuffed a bit at that, not seeming very convinced. A noble sentiment, still a noble pursuit. Baron came in for a landing a short distance from Yrrol, and well clear of the small campsite. The old Red Dragon had only just arrived after being relieved from the tunnels by one of the younger Reds. He and the Colonel had both joined them for the little expedition. Victoria had taken the time to meet Yrrol on her short visit a few days ago, but Baron was yet to receive the privilege. It had taken a little pleading from Saf, but Dakota had let Saf come along too. She was hoping to help Fengi stay calm, just in case. Clara had gotten up and walked to meet them, exchanging a quick nod with Baron before looking down at their little group, and tilting her head. I didn't get the impression she thinks she's lucky either, the dragon went, giving a quick head bow to the Inquisitor. Jelena? Clara, Jelena replied, returning the slight bow. Now, where is this Fengi? Dakota cleared her throat, looking at the two Huntresses who were walking over from the small campsite. Good afternoon, girls. Anything to report? Fengi and Essie just froze under the Inquisitor's gaze, as all eyes turned to the two of them. Nothing much, though the healing seems to be going well, Essie replied, as Fengi stood there staring at Jelena. The old woman that had not yet left Jelena's side cleared her throat slightly, making Fengi jump a little. Hi, yes, I'm Fengi, she got out. Jelena nodding. Jelena has sure of the Holy Inquisition. I hear you have had an extraordinary week. Yep, Fengi replied with a nod, clearly having no clue what to say or do right now. No need to be scared. Major Jordan has already made your case, and I have already agreed to keep your encounter out of any official reports. Not your gift, of course. Oh, was all Fengi got out in reply, standing there, staring. Thank you, Inquisitor, Esmeralda interjected, taking a step forward and bowing. Yeah, the last thing we need are nosy priests right now, Glimmer chuckled from above. She's not going to be flying for weeks, but walking might only be days away. Well, limping. Very good, Jelena responded, looking over to the dragon. I guess we need to have a chat then. Oh, right, sorry, Fengi squeaked out after a brief, awkward silence. The old woman shaking her head a bit as Jelena just stood there patiently. I'll just go wake her up. Saf could see Fengi's hand shake as she pointed at the dragon, the young huntress turning to walk towards the dragon. The rest of the group followed a few steps behind, Saf taking a few quick strides to make it up next to Fengi, putting a hand on her shoulder. Hey, it's okay, relax. They're friends. I'll try, she muttered in a low tone, as their little party walked up to Yrrol, who was clearly already awake and staring at them. Who are you? You heard my introduction, dragon, Jelena responded flatly. I would much rather you know you are the single luckiest creature I have encountered in a while. And what gave you that idea? Yrrol sneered, Saf swallowing once. Disrespecting an Inquisitor had to be one of the most dangerous games she could think of. Then again, they might just get their revenge for a nook out of it. The fact that even I am hesitant to defy a unicorn, otherwise I would have you work to death someplace very far from sunlight. Joy of joys, I get to stare at the sun as I work till I die. I know your type. You will take Fengi's friends hostage and force me to do your bidding anyway. It's just semantics. Fengi turned to look at Jelena with wide eyes, the Inquisitor's gaze turning to meet hers. Saf swallowed once more, patting Fengi's shoulder a few times, before giving it a soft squeeze. She could feel how fast Fengi was breathing right now. No, I don't think I will. Besides, making an enemy of an enchantress is a remarkably short-sighted idea, she went, giving Fengi what Saf guessed was her best reassuring smile, especially she was very clearly not familiar with using, before turning back to look at Yrrol. And since this unique situation incredibly enough manages to make you trustworthy, I'll be more than happy to have you slave away with construction work here. And what might the Inquisition be building out here? This is in the middle of nowhere, Yrrol scoffed, clearly finding that notion quite ridiculous. Fengi, would you mind forcing her to never spill these secrets? I believe the rest of you already know what can and can't be talked about. Fengi just nodded quickly. Yrrol, you can't tell anyone anything about what you're about to hear, she went, before looking to the Inquisitor with a careful smile. Was that okay? A bit blunt, but it will do. Now I believe it's time for me to get to work.
Wow! It's amazing what you managed to make out here. You built this yourself?
Adita asked, admiring the milling machine, fingers touching absolutely everything as she inspected the smithy in detail. Tom was quite happy that Jackie was busy working when his clothes were also investigated in great detail. Thankfully, no one else was actually present for that to tell her either, since Tink and Junior were busy helping with all the supplies for the moment. Yup. Well, mostly. I bought some important parts from home.
Like that?
She pointed at the lead screw, then turned to look at the tool bits he had brought.
Those are not from here either.
Yeah. How can you tell?
These are compressed metal powder. You're like a press to make them, she went, holding up one. And there is an Itterman in that, she went, pointing at the lead screw.
Wait, is that like your magic? Tom asked, looking at her hands.
Yeah, I can tell what it is just by touching it.
Okay, what happens when you don't know what it is?
It feels strange, she shrugged. Like tasting a new thing.
Wait, what is Itterman?
Itterman, she chuckled happily, turning away from her inspection. It's hard to explain. You find it in steel sometimes. It makes it harder. Makes it less prone to rust too.
Chrome?
Well, I don't know your word for it, so maybe.
That's chromoly steel. Some kind of 4100 series, I think, is high in chrome.
Then there you go. Chrome, she replied,
playing with the words before once again going back to her search.
I was wondering how much you would know about metal. I now guess it's more than me.
Quite a bit, I would say. But how do you know? You guys don't make anything with chrome, right?
No, not anymore. We still have knowledge of it. And we have stores for maintaining holy artifacts that require it. That's my job. Well, it used to be at least. Now I'm apparently supposed to help you make new stuff. That's so much more exciting.
Well, I guess it's more just going to be things you've already seen before, but built a bit more crudely.
But it will be new. I've never seen a machine like this without runes of warding and protection engraved whenever they would fit. It won't even last a decade, this thing.
Glad you have faith in our work, Tom replied, thinking about just what magic machines like that could do. Drill bits that don't dull, maybe? As he pondered, Adita knelt down next to one of the tables, taking out one of the laptops. Oh shit, here we go, Tom goes to himself. It's bound to happen eventually, but still.
What's this?
A thinking machine. Do be careful, please, Tom tried in his calmest voice.
A thinking machine, she echoed, looking it over. More of the plastic stuff with the shell. You people seem to love that material. What's inside? The gears must be tiny to make one this small.
We are quite good at plastic, yeah. That is electronic, not mechanical. Do you have thinking machines, then?
A few have been preserved. They are massive constructions, though. Thousands of gears, shafts, clutches, and linkages all built into a massive machine. The last we found records of was larger than this keep, she let out,
looking out the window wistfully.
Sadly, that was lost long ago. I once returned on one we could never fix. We could find no error in the construction. It always returned the answer 42.
I see. I
never understood that. Adita cut him off. But according to the Holy Scripts, he once had a truly vast one that couldn't be moved. His splendor was too great, so it withered away. Such a shame, she replied blandly, turning back to the laptop. Even in pieces, there apparently wasn't room.
Right. These vaults, where exactly are they?
Wouldn't you like to know? She chuckled, standing up and putting the computer on the table. Show me how this works and I might tell you.
I believe you are supposed to be my assistant, not the other way around.
I am still a member of the Inquisition, even if you rarely see people like me out in public, or even outside various secure locations.
Secure locations? Tom asked, hoping he might get some more info out of her as opposed to Jelena or Paulin.
Places you'll only find inquisitorial validated personnel. I guess this place is going to become one soon enough.
In some senses, I think it already is. Where did you come from, then? She just gestured at the laptop, taking a step back.
Something for something.
Tom just sighed, going over, opening up the screen, and hitting the power button. She watched thoughtfully at the screen as it started booting, finally nodding when it had stopped at the login screen for a bit.
I was working in the inner sanctums of the Capitol.
I see. What's in there, then? Tom tried, receiving an expectant stare from her after she had touched the screen and the buttons, then nodded towards the laptop. I see. Okay, then I can play that game. Tom put in the password, hiding his hand from her as he did so, then showed it off the desktop. And now it's unlocked. Battery only lasts a few hours, then it needs to be recharged. She just chuckled.
Thank you very much.
She went to play with the mousepad after Tom showed her.
I work with weapons maintenance. Junior thought I would be a perfect fit for this mission.
Well, we do have guns on the workbenches, Tom replied with a nod, looking over to one of the cut-down shotguns for Dakota and Jackie.
I want to take those apart later. How does this thing work? It's not alive, right?
No, Tom went, shaking his head. I swear, I'll try to teach you, but you must understand. Some of this equipment is beyond even me.
And that is your whole purpose. You're going to teach me how to bring back the glories of industry.
Yes, I know, but let me put it this way. Tom plucked a hair from his head, holding it up. There are wires in that thing, so thin. You can spin tens of thousands of them together, and they would still be thinner than this hair. Adita just stared at him, her jaw dropping.
You know, I'm going to make Jelena test if you are lying to me.
I ain't. I'll show you what I have on how that thing works, but we aren't making anyone anytime soon. We have engineers, hell, several kinds of engineers, dedicated just to working on machines like that.
And you are a different kind of engineer? What does that mean to you anyway? You clearly don't build bridges and ballistas.
Person who designs things of a technical nature. I'm a mechanical engineer. I design machines.
Ooh,
Adita let out, looking at him and nodding.
So you can't make thinking machines?
No, Tom replied, shaking his head.
And using a person's mind is considered heretical,
Adita let out, sounding more disappointed than anything. I'm sorry, what?
Automatons. They need to be able to think somehow. A mechanical brain can only do so much. We found several using organic components for thinking, even have some locked away. Fascinating machines, but they are anathema to our way of technology. It's the closest I know to what that thing is, if it can indeed think.
I can see why, Tom replied. Well, at least they don't think sentencing someone to be in a laptop is A-okay.
Good. Then you won't have any problems with that. What can you make then? It's not like we are bringing back industry by ourselves after all. No, wait, we are. Oh, this is going to be great, she laughed out.
Tom just nodding carefully.
I mean, it's not like we can just mentally conjure parts,
Adita chuckled to herself.
We're going to have to make it all from scratch.
Tom just stared at her for a second, waiting for her to elaborate.
What?
Well, can you? Tom pushed, staring at her.
No? You can't just make something from nothing.
Well, you never know with magic. Adita just shook her head, looking back to the laptop.
Okay, now how do you make it calculate something? And how much can it remember?
The questioning session that followed made Saf reevaluate her stance to them, having been thorough with their questioning. Jelena took their metric to a whole new level, and Fingy clearly didn't dare put a stop to the questioning this time. Jelena had more or less managed to map out Adril's entire life, private or not, nearly from when she was born. Going back far enough, the dragon could honestly answer because she had no clue whatsoever. To Saf's surprise, though, she was being very sparse with the note-taking. She had also refrained from using her magic on the dragon. Saf's best guess was that reading someone's mind is clearly quite the mental battle, and doing so with a dragon when you didn't even need to might be just a bit much of a risk. The thought did make her wonder just how long Tom might be able to escape that fate, though. It had suddenly dawned on Yrrol, as the questions continued, that this wasn't some kind of sick joke or pitiful attempt to scare her. Saf had no clue what the names of her childhood friends had to do with anything, but she wasn't questioning the methods of an Inquisitor. So to recap, do please interrupt me if anything is wrong, Jelena went, as she put down some final remarks in her book.
Interrupt her if anything is wrong,
Finky echoed, looking at Yrrol. You were born at a large inner keep outside Carthagena, sporting some 1,200 dragonettes and 4 dragons, 5 counting yourself. You were sent on your way at age 40 along with your mother after said keep decided not to renew your mother's contract. You both took a job as farmhands outside the capital shortly thereafter. Jelena looked up at the by now very calm dragon. That partnership came to an end when your mother was rightfully accused of theft. She was sentenced to 10 years of hard labor. You then took up a job as hired muscle at a lumberyard. You stayed there for nearly 5 years before taking up mercenary work instead, with a group of outstars out to make a name for yourself. You had a decently long and fairly uneventful career of some 80-odd years. During this time your mother was released and returned to your home to be with your father. That lasted all of a couple of months, your mother ending up back as a farmhand before she was again sentenced to hard labor, this time for extortion and blackmail. Your life continued uneventfully after you distanced yourself from your mother, settling down at a middling keep as the only dragon following your mercenary career. There you stayed for the better part of 90 years and were generally happy, even visiting or receiving visits from your father on multiple occasions. Yrrol just nodded, head resting on her forelegs as the Inquisitor kept going. The keep then proceeded to fall on hard times following a change in leadership, as a result of a death due to old age. 2 years following the death of the last lord, supplies had gotten tight enough. The new lady decided you could not be fed through winter, and as such she kicked you out, which was a breach of contract. You managed to scrape through winter, managing to get in a small amount of hunting before wintering in a natural cave found on the side of the island. You came out the other side malnutritioned and sick. You travelled overland to 6 other keeps on the island, only to get turned down. most citing lack of supplies, two wanting nothing to do with you. You hunted in these keeps' hunting grounds to survive, eventually earning the ire of said keeps. That led them to chase you out of their lands and off island. You, through great difficulty, managed to make it to a nearby town, where you were shortly chased back out. You then re-engaged in illegal hunting, though with more luck, before the nearby town contracted a group of mercenaries to chase you out. Instead of chasing you out, they offered you a job. You then proceeded to raid the smallest keep on the island successfully. Henceforth your record consists of raiding keeps, racketeering, piracy and extortion, punctuated by your attempt to reconnect with your father, which ended with him disowning you, and a fight to drive you from your childhood home. You and your mother managed to reconnect very well, though, which led to the two of you taking a raiding together. That came to an end with a lucky hit from a him ballista, purchased by one of your regularly extorted keeps. Is this accurate? Yrrol just nodded silently, Sass spotting the hint of a tear in her eye. So, disowned by your father, your mother dead, all the keeps you knew despising your existence, you elected to head for a battalion, wanting to turn yourself over to the Royal Guard, hoping to pay off your crimes through service. You were rejected and sentenced to life in servitude for multiple counts of murder. You eventually managed to escape thanks to the help of some of your previous connections, as well as several of your old crew ending up in the same mine. Following your escape, you went right back to your life of crime, which brings us to today. Was this recounting accurate? Yrrol just nodded once again silently. Very good. I believe you know that failure to comply with the terms presented to you here will lead to your immediate execution. But then again, I believe this factor is irrelevant in this case. Fengi, we'll be discussing this further soon. Will you be able to attend me at the keep? I don't think so, Fengi stammered out, looking at the Inquisitor and swallowing once. And why is that? Lincosta believes I might be burning magic. Does Major Jordan not possess the ability to nullify such an effect? He said so, yes. But Lincosta says you can still be burning magic just without result, and his magic didn't stop me from commanding a draw yesterday. Intriguing. Glass? Gorge, please, Jelena went, holding up her hand expectantly. The armored woman produced a small metal collar-looking thing from under her robes, handing it to the Inquisitor. What is that? Fengi asked, voice quivering a little as she looked at it. We call it a gorge. It mentions if magic is being used. They can't cancel it, but it is nice to know either way. Handy, Saf went with a nod, looking at the odd device. It looked just like a simple metal collar that you would use on a slave, but it was decorated in more tiny runes than Sapphire could count. Doubtlessly enchantments of various kinds. Jelena put the collar around Fengi's neck, checking it before looking back to Glaz, much to Sapphire's surprise. Anything?
Nothing, boss, the armored woman replied with a slight shake of the head.
Do please try to issue a command, Jelena questioned, turning her attention back to Fengi.
Okay. Yrrol, say hi, please.
Hi, Yrrol echoed, putting a slight sneer, glaring at Fengi. You promised.
Sorry, I couldn't think of anything better.
You are apologizing to her, Jelena remarked, with a raised eye-ridge.
I promised not to force her to do things unless it was necessary.
Fengi defended herself, looking down at the ground. Well, this was necessary. Glaz? Jelena questioned, looking back at the armored woman. She, for her part, just nodded.
Yup, just a little bit.
Very good, then. Fengi, I don't believe I have gotten your last name.
I, haven't got one, yet,
Fengi replied, looking at the ground before quickly glancing at Unkai, who was keeping a safe distance from all of them. I see. Fengi, you are clear to return to the keep, though I believe the young mage's advice on magic is sound. Do remember not to issue an order when that far away.
I shall. You need not worry.
Very good. Now I have plans to rewrite. Good day, ladies.